Winston stopped writing, partly because he was suffering from cramp. He did not know what had made him pour out this stream of rubbish.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Generation Y. We're back for a real episode. Yesterday was a bonus episode, or the one that we will upload sometime. Things have been a little bit complicated. That's okay. So we're going to get started. It's I'm Dan, and we got Mark here. He's in Britain. I'm an American. So if you're new to it, and we just had a fiery, fun episode with the none other than
Devin Tracy.
Devin Tracy, which he was present for because of time difference and me being a political activist. Now, I was helping a friend, and I got to talk to not the senators directly, but I will tell you this. I called yesterday Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's a House representative of Georgia, because my friend lives in Georgia. He's having some issues. And I got a call back this morning. I called John Ossoff's office, Democrat, and I got called back in 30 minutes from their office. I was impressed. Let's just say the least. I talked to them for about 10 minutes each, explained the situation that was going on. And John Ossoff, Senator, his office, I may not agree with him politically or whatever, but he's a fighter I've seen in him in at least public. So that's a good thing. So that's what I was doing this morning. How was your morning, man, or afternoon, night, day?
Yeah, no, it's really good. Just like you said, just spoken to Devin Tracy of AIU fame, Atheism is Unstoppable, and it was really good. He's he's obviously slightly different in politics, but not that much different. And I mean, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. Like me and Devin were saying on that episode, nowadays it's just woke versus anti-woke, in my opinion. And I think that's the easiest way of summarizing it.
I think there's an even easier way: good versus evil. Like control versus, freedom. Like these are our options right now, and we have to push back. And honestly, got a really cool thing. Have you ever heard of an ESG score?
No.
Okay, we'll talk about that a little bit later. Okay. All right. So, why don't you give us the first story for our news section, mainstream pop news? What's the story you want to talk about?
Yeah, sure. So, this is a few days old, but I wanted to bring it in the first episode. We didn't because obviously we had so much other stuff. I'll bring it in today. So this is a UK story, and the UK has been fairly tight on restrictions because of COVID. Most people have still been able to work a lot of the time, but other than that, like no weddings and things like that.
Essential personnel stuff only, right?
Right. And so the health secretary, so probably one of the top 5 or 6 people in the country, was caught on camera, and it was then leaked out, snogging one of his aides. Yeah, she is,
and he's married. He's married, right?
He's married, and she's married.
God.
They went to Oxford University together. She is a very wealthy lady. I think she's fairly young. I think she's like early to mid 30s, and he's like late 30s. And she's involved in some reasonably nefarious stuff. Maybe not nefarious, but like, like people that are sort of, they come to the government to say, like, help us out with this company. It's much more common in America, and there is a word for it. I just can't remember the word.
Like a lobbyist.
Like exactly that. Yeah, exactly that. She's done a lot of lobbying and that sort of thing. And so they leaked the story. They leaked the video of them sort of going out into this little cupboard and having a smooch, and he's like grabbing her ass and stuff. And obviously it went down like a lead balloon, because after you've been telling people that they can't hug their dying father and mother, grandmother and grandfather for a year and a half because of germs and all the rest of it, and then you're seen, wearing your mask in public, but then behind closed doors you're having an affair, or not only are you having an affair on your family, you're basically also breaking the rules, right? And so the reason that people were, at the end of the day, whether a politician is having an affair or not doesn't bother me, because it's not my business. You can say that it's not a good thing to do, obviously not, but that doesn't really bother me. I think what bothers me is just telling people that under no circumstances must you go out without a mask, and you can't go and see your elderly grandparent that's dying or whatever, and then he's just sharing germs with the head of another family. So he was, sorry, just finish off. So He was. We thought he would be fired, which would be the logical thing. They didn't end up firing him, although they probably told him, quit or we're going to fire you. And then the very next day, he came out and was like, I'm terribly sorry. Like these big puppy eyes to the camera. What I did not deserve the nation's blah, blah, blah. I can only apologize as much as possible, and I hope you can find it in your hearts to forgive me. What I did to my wife was terrible. And we're just sort of like, dude, shut the fuck up and piss off. Like, you broke the rules after telling everyone else to obey them. Be gone. So
Rules
he
for thee,
quit.
but not for me.
Exactly. Exactly. So yeah, everybody's annoyed. Everyone's frustrated. He's gone. New guy's in now. Who knows how much difference it's going to make? Whatever.
Well, the thing is, this to me is this is obviously a PR stunt. The government's in on like if we know that there is a lot of pressure that government can put on agencies to not release certain things, to keep things quiet, subpoenas, they can do their government fun stuff with the press. And my main thing is this: they're using that to shy away. Like, look here, while this is what really happened. I know you guys have had problems with your nursing homes or your assisted living facilities, and this guy was directly responsible and a part of that from what I've read. So this is really, to me, is just to make, like, this is his punishment, is humiliation instead of actual being held accountable. That's what it be. And no, I'm not saying this to you necessarily, but it's like, it worked.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, what's fascinating is somebody leaked that tape. And somebody was obviously in a position to have one of the highest politicians in the land secretly recorded.
Right.
So it's just another tale of bureaucrats probably running the show. It's really the puppet masters. It's whoever it is behind closed doors was in a position. They obviously knew that he did that. They then allowed the cameras to be on, because with people like him, you're not allowed to record people like that sometimes in certain
What?
places. Oh, yeah, it's crazy. And so he shouldn't really have been recorded in this particular time, according to the rules, not according to what's right and wrong.
Sure.
So the fact that somebody was like, we'll just turn this camera and make sure that it's running when he's in here tomorrow, and then took the footage and leaked it to a news
Well,
organization.
like, people who worked around him weren't suspicious of this, or didn't, like, of course they knew. And they go to some other buddy that works across the aisle. One of the aides goes to another aide, and they're like, hey man, there's some fucking weird shit's going on over there, just saying. And then that guy goes to his boss, who's like, dude, we can destroy this guy. And
Yeah,
and we can make it look like we're holding people accountable. It's the
right.
biggest joke I've ever heard, and
Absolutely.
this is what our governments do. And I think the veil is slowly being lifted. But if anything comes from the mainstream media, at least in America, especially in America, for the most part, there's very few examples. It's coordinated. It's planned. These we have, like, Viacom, I think it's, and a couple other. I don't know all the main, but there's only like 2 or 3 companies in the United States that own all our media. It's Viacom, CBS, and I think another.
AT&T?
So maybe it could be. But they all disseminate a document. It's like, this is what you're going to talk about, or whatever. And then, you ever seen the famous clips where it's literally all the same exact
Yeah,
wording?
there's like 24 different news channels from
Yeah.
around the country, and they're all spewing exactly the same talking.
Right there should have been like, oh, free press. Yeah, they're free to say whatever they're told.
Yeah.
Like, or you get fired.
Yep.
So let's just be, honest. And I think someone like Tucker Carlson is maybe one of the few people in media, mainstream cathedral media,
Why
that
don't we be kind and sorry?
I was just saying that I even, like, look at and be like, maybe.
Well, yeah, I agree. Let's be kind or charitable and mention somebody maybe from the other side. I would say maybe Jake Tapper. Yeah, I know he's done some pretty horrendous stuff, but I think he has it in him to be reasonably honest.
I know. I think, listen, Jake Tapper is willing to talk to people on his own side that he disagrees with.
Yeah.
But Jake Tapper is a known ex intelligence guy, and that doesn't completely discredit him.
Oh.
Yes, I believe he was an intern. I know Anderson Cooper definitely was, but he has connections to some weird people. Listen, you don't make it in that world without having some weird connections. That's just like, Tucker Carlson's dad was not a very good person, as far as I understand it. He did some weird stuff back in the day. I don't mean like sexually deviant, but like weird connections with certain intelligence agents, like weird stuff.
Yeah.
As far as I understand it. So I'm not going to say that's a fact. That's just like what I've heard through the rumor mill a little bit.
Yeah.
But and that's the thing. It could be all propaganda. I have no idea. But I'm just saying this much is like Jake Tapper is smart enough, which makes it even more criminal. All these people, like, not obviously legally liable, but it's evil. It's like, if you know something to be a complete farce or lie, or there is not enough substantive evidence, you're not a journalist, you're an entertainment host, and you're a propagandist. It's like the Russian hoax stuff for 2 years. Rachel Maddow every night, the mother investigation is coming from, and you're like, and it all ended up being a big I think it was Van Jones said, it's a big nothing burger.
Burger.
And they knew it. So anything the media goes against or goes for, keep an eye on it, because that's their agenda being put into it. And I think people are more aware of that now than ever. And
definitely.
I just think, like, of course, the media is not on your side. They're on their side. They're on their advertiser side. That's where they're at. And that's where they will be. Like CNN, MSNBC will not talk about vaccines in a negative way at all. One of their biggest, the pharmaceutical companies give them millions and millions of dollars, like tens of millions of dollars a year to run ads on their stuff. Fox too. So
I was just racking my brains. I'm sure there was a CNN guy that really laid into one of the cathedral recently. Was it Wolf Blitzer that somebody, maybe Kamala, and he was like,
they have to give they have to.
But this was well known, and everybody was like, "Oh, well done! It was really good to see that." Finally.
It was it. I don't think it was Wolf Blitzer, because he's the old white guy with the hair.
Yeah, with the beard and the.
It might have been. I can't remember his name. I think he's ABC, CNN, or somebody like you said. But he goes, so, you're having all this stuff at the border. Why haven't you gone to the border? And she goes, I have gone to the border. He's like, ma'am, no, you haven't. And she's like, well, I haven't been to Europe either.
Yeah.
Go jump off a bridge, man. What are you talking about? Like, okay. And no, but these things, listen, they don't like Kamala. Kamala is not the future of the party. They know that. Kamala had 0 delegates, 0 people voted for her in the running up to the primary. 0.
I don't think she ever went above 1%. I don't think she ever went above 1%.
Not yet. Like, I think there was a period right before the Tulsi Gabbard when she destroyed her. Like, she was like 5%. She was a leader, But then the moment you point out all these, like, the bull crap in her past, it's like, dude, you have done whatever it has taken to get to the top, and you've done some pretty awful things. So, like, and it is what it is.
Just for those that don't know, do you want to talk about those awful things?
Very quickly, some of the things that stick out in my mind. So, under the 13th Amendment, this is actually true. I just want people to realize this. And this is a criticism of the 13th Amendment, which we should look into. Abso-freaking-lutely. We need to maybe amend the 13th Amendment or reform that. It basically states, that is what gave slaves their freedom, was the 13th Amendment, right? But it says a but in there that the only time you could be used as slavery, we can use slavery, is in the prison system. This is where Jim Crow laws, and there is some truth to this stuff. We have to be honest. It was just Democrats that implemented all this crap. So let's get real. But so they fight fires in California, and they use prisoners, right, to fight fires by their choice. By their choice. You can volunteer to be a volunteer firefighter and help fight fires. Well, she wouldn't let people out of prison for cheap labor, because they're paying them like $1 an hour. And when you pay a state employee, you're paying them when they're fighting fires, because of hazardous pay and overtime, you're paying them like $25-$30 an hour or whatever. So they were using it as slave labor. Also, she, as a district attorney, hid evidence that she knowingly had, her office had, to keep a man in prison, it would have freed him. It was DNA evidence to prove he was not. And he was, I don't know if he was on death row, but he was definitely serving a life sentence. I don't think they have death row in California. So life sentence, and she wouldn't release it. So
I think they do have death row still in California. But they just don't kill anyone.
I don't know. No, because there's different states have different stuff, and some states do.
Yeah.
So it could be true. I don't know. So I just.
But regardless, they gave him.
They hid information. They hid evidence. You are a cop. A district attorney is a cop. They are law enforcement. They are there to enforce law.
Yeah.
Whether you like it or not, it's like Bill Cosby situation. They messed up the process. They lied. They did the thing, and he's free because of it. It was justice. That is the way our system is set up. So, whatever. But yeah, no, I think this story with this guy, this national health guy, it's like Fauci. They will be fine. He'll get hired on some private firm, and he'll be fine and make $1 million, £1 million.
His name was Matt Hancock.
Oh, we definitely know who someone had a cock in their hand. No,
I just thought that was brilliant.
You can't beat it. Should have been named Mouthcock. Probably would have been better for him. It's I don't know. Like I think it's all a game, and we're just the pawns trying to move us masses around. Yeah, that's just like how they're trying to do it. Shift narrative, shift this, shift that. It's a game. It's game theory.
Give me another news story.
Okay, so my news story is a combination of two, but it has the same overarching themes in my mind. So one, Joe Biden, Jen Psaki yesterday came out and said we're going to be going to people's homes to encourage people to get the vaccine. So in low vaccinated areas, they didn't even say low vaccinate. They just said we're just going to be going to people's homes and encouraging them to get the vaccine. And I think they're going to be using young adults. That's what we're going to use, like kids, to go to people's homes and convince them. Because you won't cuss out a kid most likely, but you'll cuss out an adult. You probably won't be violent against the kid, but you could be there. It's very weird. They said we're going to use the youth, and I don't know what the youth means. But,
well, I mean, what they might, I would suspect what they mean by what they could mean by that. Well, yeah, but what they could also mean by that is we're going to indoctrinate the children to make their parents and their elder brother and sisters into like guilting people to get it.
No, yeah, they are, but they're literally going home to home, is what they said. Home to home, in person.
Crazy.
Now, does that mean they can enforce anything? No, but it's a pressure campaign, a social pressure campaign from the government. And I don't like that. I think that's overreach. I think you should not be advocating to enter people's private property to, like if you're campaigning for office, that's one thing, but you're already in office. You have the national media's attention. You can go set up rallies. You can do whatever you want, but no one's going. No one gives a crap what they have to say. So now they have to do this. Okay, second. The Capitol Police, okay, so the Capitol Police, January 6th, we all know what happened, is there to protect the Capitol, right? That's what they're there for, the Capitol, the U.S. Capitol. Well, let me tell you something, friends. They just went nationwide. They're setting up regional offices in California and Florida. And they are going to be doing they're building their intelligence operations out to look for threats. That's like their wording. I'm not even kidding.
What is going on? So they're law enforcement and intelligence around the country.
Hey, can you say that again? We just kind of lost it a little bit.
Sorry, I was just saying, so basically they are going to create or expand yet another form of law enforcement and intelligence throughout the country.
We have the FBI. We have the NSA. We have, well, they're not supposed to domestically spy. We know they do. But we have the FBI. They are allowed. But this is the problem. And this is why they do these things. So they just got an extra $1 billion towards their funding, the Capitol Police.
Wow.
And Republicans voted for it. This is what I'm talking about. There is a uniparty. This is insane. This is insanity. So the way it works in the United States, the executive branch has executive authority to create federal agencies. They're responsible. So they can just things can happen. That's how the NSA came about. That's how the Secret Service. Do you know why the Secret Service was created in the United States?
To protect the president?
Wrong. So this is crazy. I didn't know this either, right? But in Abraham Lincoln is the one who signed in the Secret Service. Irony at its finest, which is eventually why they also got the mission to protect the president. It's partly due to that. So like I think it was 20 to 30% of the U.S. economy pre-Secret Service was forgery money, fake money, fraud money, just fake money. So they created the Secret Service to stop that. That's why they did. So you're talking 20 to 30% of the U.S. economy was fake money. Well, it's all fake. But even back then, it was really fake. At least they had gold back then that you could go trade in money for and get gold for.
Yeah.
So that's why it was created. And he literally signed a document and it was created. That's his executive authority. He's allowed to do those things. So something like the FBI has been around for a long time. I can't remember exactly when it was formed, but like the 40s and 50s, like the FBI, Hoover and all these guys. Or J. Edgar Hoover. Yeah, J. Edgar Hoover. And the FBI was created to fight what? They were fighting prohibition and like stopping people from having alcohol, which obviously they failed.
Yeah.
But the FBI has been regulated over time and laws have been passed to restrict them of their powers. So now that you have a new agency, there's no restrictions on them legally. They're less likely to have restrictions on them. So they're going to use them to, to me, it's about, there's two reasons why they pick California and Florida. Main reason why they pick California, Antifa hot zone. A lot of anti-capitalist, anti-government people live there. So you have a hub there to go after the left. And then in Florida, it's MAGA country, right? Like, so they're just going to be using anything to look at and target these people. And that's also where Trump lives. So I have a huge issue with that, and I think it's wrong. And I think it's too much. And I think we already have the agencies in place. We have the laws, the rules. Like, they're literally going to try to create a problem. That's what it looks like, to create more of a problem. And just like we did in the Middle East, where you're a terrorist because I said so, they're doing that here now.
That's terrifying.
It is. And I don't know the authority that governors have or state legislature. I don't know what the authorities they have to stop this from happening. I looked into it a little bit. It doesn't seem like there's much they can do.
What sort of thing, I don't know if you're okay to say, what was the sort of thing that you were ringing about your government representatives?
I have
Roughly.
a friend that, long story short, I'm a veteran, so like I help other veterans get their benefits. That's like what I do in a lot of my free time is spent talking to veterans all day, helping them go through the process of getting their benefits and, helping them, get the percentage they deserve from anywhere from 0 to 100%. That's just, I don't need to get into the details. Long story short, he got screwed. The VA is screwing him. The military screwed him on his way out. They messed up paperwork, and he's been waiting like 2 or 3 months. And long story short, if it goes past a certain point of time, once it goes past 12 months of your separation date, they don't have to pay you for that whole last year. But if you get it done within those 12 months, you have to back pay you however long it took to get your benefits. So there is some sort of chink in the armor, some sort of system. No one's communicating with each other. And they won't help him. No one will help him. In 3 different federal agencies, no one will help him. So I said, I'm done. I'm done. We waited 2 months, 80 days. It's been 80 something days, like since this has all started happening. I'm done. And I started making calls, and I called probably 10 different phone numbers, and I got 3 phone calls back. And I got everything to him, and we're going to start the process to have a senator basically speak on his behalf to the VA.
You're a good man, Daniel Deegan.
I don't screw around. No, dude, listen, when it comes to my friends, I will do whatever it takes. Like I will make sure, like we're not going to be jerked around by the VA anymore. We tried the process. And that's it. So yeah, it was an interesting, and I'll tell you this much. It feels really good as a citizen to be heard, at least heard.
Yeah.
And responded to and talked to. And, this gentleman, Mr. Brown, he was a very nice man. And I said to him completely, I was like, listen, I am a Republican. I understand that, but these issues should be not partisan. This is a man with a family. This is a man that just had a newborn kid. This is a guy that's running a small business. And trying to build that out, and it's really stressful. And this is another thing in his life and he personally, I think he got screwed by the military, but I'm not going to go into his personal details. I'm just saying, and then I said to them, I'm like, listen, you help this guy fix his problem. It helps his family. It helps his neighborhood. It helps his community, the city, so on and so forth. We need to start building from the ground up instead of top down. We need to go, these are the people we need to help. And I said to him, like, I think John Ossoff, I don't like his policies, but I've seen him fight in Congress and argue and like really eloquently argue. Even made me go, well, this guy, like, and as a Republican, quote unquote Republican, I wouldn't consider myself. I just didn't feel like being like, hey, dude, I'm like a libertarian anarcho guy or whatever it may be. Like, I just didn't want to have that conversation.
It's just easier, isn't it?
Yeah, just
like
a catch
in that
right?
situation.
I don't like the left policies. That's what it said to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was what I'd spent like, probably 2 hours this morning. I was on the phone. I was talking to people, sending emails, and I finally, I think I made a little bit of crack and broke through. We'll see what happens. Yeah, that's what you do for your people,
Do you think that the reason that some of these not agencies, but some of the sort of offices along the way were taking a long time or signing the things wrong, do you think there's some sort of like institutional thing to try and push people out so that the ones that don't really fight, they don't have to pay out? Do you think it's that, or is it just being like incompetent?
I'll say this. If people are dissuaded because something is hard, then you don't deserve it. That's just me. Like, I get veterans, like, it should not be an easy process. And what I mean, it should be easy to apply. It should be easy to go through the process. And there are barriers put up intentionally to not dissuade people, but like, hey, dude, if you want this, you got to work for it a little bit. You earn these benefits for sure. It's not hard. I promise you this. It's not hard. The barriers are very small.
Seems pretty hard from where I'm sitting.
No, but this particular issue is different. This is why I'm making a big stink about it. Because this particular issue is because the government's really bad at one thing in particular is communication with other federal agencies. They're awful. I mean, the CIA knew, for example, that the Steele dossier was crap, told the FBI. The FBI just didn't read the email, ignored the email, whatever it was. They knew from the very beginning that this whole thing with Trump was crap. It was crap. So it's the same thing here. You have to coordinate with the location where you separated from. Then you have to coordinate. Then they need to coordinate with another thing called DFAS. Then DFAS needs to coordinate with the VA. But then VA has to go back and coordinate with DFAS. And then always it's like this. And then you end up like in a circle. But if one of those people somewhere, because someone somewhere fucked up so bad that they could probably lose their job, because we're talking about roughly, and I'm not, it's tens of thousands of dollars. Let's just say that much. It's tens of thousands. So they're trying to hold off, I think, until it just disappears, because they know a lot of veterans will just get discouraged and give up. And that's not who I am. I am not the dude that's going to be discouraged because I'm told no. I'm going to be like, I'm going to find a way to make you say yes. And that's just who I am, So you make demands. You do not ask after a certain point. You're like, I'm making my demands now.
Yeah.
And you are a senator. And he's not even my senator. I live in a different state. And I told him that. I'm like, listen, like, this is it. This is what we need to do. But they were great. I will say this much. Marjorie Taylor Greene's office, I talked to them too. They were great. It's not his, they're technically not responsible for him. So they're trying to hook us up with another person. But if I get a couple representatives and a senator, things should move and it should get done, and this should be solved very quickly, in my opinion. Because once the VA starts getting pressure from my next step after this is I'm calling the head of the VA committee in the Senate.
Okay.
So
moving on, I have another story. This is the UK again. So the UK has been struggling. Well, I mean, we've always had issues with, the same as the US, with migrants. And the reason I say it like that is because, you can't just like inject like X amount of hundreds of thousands of people into a country that are going to use the healthcare, the education, the roads, everything, and not account for them. Obviously, that is like the main issue with illegal immigration is that you don't know how many people are there, so suddenly people are having to wait 6 hours in in the ER instead of 2 hours because we didn't know how many people were in the city. And basically,
how many documented, undocumented, like how many people do you know that are illegal?
yeah, so they think that, so the country is like 67 million. They think that the at last count that there were anywhere between 1 and 3 million illegal immigrants. But I really don't think they have any idea. So we always had issues before. They would come over in trucks, like 18-wheelers. And so we had an occasion where there was a truck on the side of the road. The guy didn't even know they're in there. And it does happen. So he parked up overnight. The freezer was on because he thought it was thingy. And they opened the back up, or he opened the back up the next day, and they were all dead. There was like 40 of them and they're dead. Anyway, sad, but I guess it's a risk that they're taking. And then obviously when COVID happened, mixed with a little bit of Brexit, there were many, many fewer trucks coming over. And so what they began doing about 18 months ago was coming over on dinghies, like these little rubber dinghies.
Yeah.
And so they started off where there would be 12, and there are gangs, illegal gangs operating out of France. And they basically get these people from sometimes North Africa, sometimes around from Greece, like Syria, that sort of area. And they go through all these wonderful countries. They really are nice countries, Greece, France, Italy, Spain, Germany, Austria, Switzerland. They don't want to stay in those countries. They want to come to the UK. So it first started where they would bring them to the beaches in France, tell them what time to go out. And once they're like naval law apparently means that if somebody's within 12 miles of your shore, you have to take them in. Like otherwise they're just going to die. And they cottoned onto this, and basically they would say, here's the dinghy, here's the fuel, little 10 horsepower motor, go in that direction, and then ring this number, and it's the UK Border Force, and tell them that you've got a hole in your dinghy. And this has been, like I say, this has been going on, and it's getting loads worse to the point where we've been having like bigger and bigger dinghies until we've had people like 200 people in a rubber dinghy. Mm-hmm. Obviously, it's not like a little 6-person dinghy, but it's, it's a pretty crappy boat. And they're ringing up and saying, we need help. And then you obviously get the left that are like, look, they're just refugees. And then they turn up and they're all 23-year-old men. And you're like, that's funny. Like, how come they're all 23-year-old men?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, and so it's been getting worse and worse and worse. Priti Patel is a really cool, well, she's sometimes cool, sometimes not, Home Secretary. She has probably been like the most, she's probably tried the most of the last few people. But she keeps getting blocked because Tony Blair he founded a Supreme Court in 2008 or 2009, where George Bush basically said, even that this is why it's a uni party. George Bush, Republican, Tony Blair, far left. And George Bush said, why don't you just found a Supreme Court? And Tony Blair was like, we don't really need one. We've got a parliamentarian system. And he's like, you're not listening to me. If you have a Supreme Court, you pack it with judges on lifetime seats, you could just get them, every time someone appeals something that the government's done, they could just say no. And so we had a situation where Priti Patel she literally loaded up a plane before anyone even got the chance to do anything with all criminals that had committed more than 3 or more serious crimes. It had to be murder, rape, drug dealing, stuff like that. She loaded this plane up to go back to a country that I won't name. And The Guardian got hold of it. And then the Guardianistas and all the activists applied to the Supreme Court, and they blocked it, and they literally grounded the plane. They're like, if the plane takes off, we'll arrest the pilots when they come back and put them in jail for 30 years or something. And so this is the sort of thing that she's been having to deal with. But anyway, like they have been working their way through it. They've sort of been trying to get as many people out of the civil service and the Supreme Court as they possibly can. Some people they can't, but they have been doing a reasonably good job. And the thing that has just come out today is UK to block visas for countries refusing to take back asylum seekers. So the bill would give Home Secretary Priti Patel power to take action against citizens of countries deemed not to be cooperating with UK migration laws. UK will block visas for visitors from countries the Home Secretary believes are refusing to cooperate in taking back rejected asylum seekers or offenders. In proposed legislation, published on Tuesday, Priti Patel and future Home Secretaries would have the power to suspend or delay the processing of applications from countries that do not cooperate with the UK government in relation to the removal from the UK nationals of that country who require leave to enter or remain in the UK, but do not have it. So in other words, if illegal immigrants come and like France won't take them back in, even if they're not French, we will block visas from France. So we'll just be like, well, then no French people are coming in. If you're not taking these 7 back, and then you can send them back to Spain, who shouldn't have let them into France, and Spain can send them back to Algeria, who shouldn't have let them, you know. So it's trying to kind of just get this system. We can't. So Europe's way of dealing with illegal immigrants is to say, well, so say for example you've got Greece. Greece will be like, oh well, Italy's a much nicer country than Greece. We'll help you get across to Italy. And then Italy's like, oh no, Monaco's way nicer than here. So they go through Monaco. Monaco's like, oh no, we won't give you anything. You need to be earning 250 million a year. Go to France. And well, the France, even though we saved them twice, they love nothing more than to annoy the Brits. So there are policemen in France that have been caught handing out dinghies and directions and navigation aids to these migrants to send them over to the UK. Trouble is, the UK, like I told you last time, Dan, it's the size of Florida and a half. Like, we're not a big country, and 20% of our country is just mountains and huge lochs, which basically lakes. And we don't have the size to just constantly take in, you know, they think it's definitely been 5,000 to 7,000 a day for the last 18 months. And that's just in that one part of the UK. So it's probably realistically been double, triple, or quadruple that in terms of what we don't know about.
You're
'Cause we're
saying
not catching them all.
5 to 7,000 a day there?
Correct. In a country the size of Florida and a half.
Yeah.
So that's
obviously concerning.
absolutely.
I mean, I'm telling you now, we have very similar issues. I imagine our numbers are probably a little bit higher just because Mexico's a bigger place and it's easier on foot probably than by water.
Yeah.
But they project publicly saying at least 15 million illegal immigrants, but it's probably more double that at least. You know,
they just can't ever know though. That's the problem. You just can't know.
it's
That's
undocumented
the whole
for a
point.
reason.
Right.
Well, the Biden administration just did this today, actually, funnily enough. So we spent all this money on COVID, trillions of dollars, right? Whatever. They are constantly moving funds from the COVID relief. This is what I'm talking. This is what government does. This is so disingenuous. It's so nasty. So this is why we can't. I'm like, dude, I'm getting so disenfranchised with my government. I can't believe these people. So we give them $1 trillion, whatever it is. Now they're taking $860 million from COVID relief to house illegal immigrants. To just house them in hotels, transport them to places. And they're literally putting people on buses, transporting them all over the United States, on planes, transporting them all over the United States.
We have exactly the same. We're busing them to Scotland, Leeds, Yorkshire, Manchester, and we're putting them up in 4-star hotels. And they're then coming outside and protesting because they're not getting enough. They're like, we want more. Why is it only 4-star? Hold on, I thought you was a refugee from Syria.
Yeah.
A bloody 4-star Hilton isn't enough for you. No,
well,
we want iPod. We want iPod. And my own Tesla. Okay.
Yeah. Well, like I think the real thing is here is like there's always we have to have respect for human beings. I believe that. I respect
100%.
people, but they're definitely not respecting you, your country, or your laws.
No.
And there's like people don't want to acknowledge these things, but that's true. Secondly, America's a big place. There's plenty of space. Space isn't the issue. Space is not necessarily, it's jobs, it's economy, it's infrastructure, distribution of resources. We have, hundreds of thousands of homeless people in our streets. It's like we could do other things. I know it's I don't want to get into the history of it here in America, but it's been going on since the 70s. Reagan gave 18 million illegal people citizenship. or the ability to apply for citizenship, expedited process. And that really helped out Republicans for the next 20 years. We got a cheap labor force. We could, and we got a new voting base. And the Democrats are trying to do the same thing. They want a new voting base to balance out conservatives or like people. But this is the problem. And this is something that's happening in America. And it's backfiring in a lot of ways because these people are leaving places like Venezuela, these failed left policies, and they're coming to America and they're getting to use these policies, and I don't blame them. I would use it too. If I were them, I would probably do the same thing. So it's not even a place of blame at their feet. It's our government's inability to handle the issue. Mexicans are not, they're conservatives, dude. Like they're Christians, they're Catholics, they're hardcore family oriented people. They're leaving broken economies to come to a better economy. And then they know what policies, they're not dumb. We got to stop looking at them like immigrants are morons. They're not morons. Like, to me, I think they're doing what they think is best for their family, and there are bad actors in there. But I think it's actually a critical error, in my opinion. If they do some mass citizenship, Donald Trump had the highest black vote, highest Hispanic vote, like I think might be ever. It's in the last 40 or 50 years.
It was the highest Republican vote ever.
No, but I'm saying for those communities though, specifically. Yeah. So like the turnout was in Florida in a D+30 district.
Yeah. Brevard.
No, Miami-Dade.
Broward County, wasn't it?
Broward County, Miami-Dade. Yes, Broward County. They won. They crushed it because Cubans lived there. They escaped communism.
Yeah.
They escaped Fidel Castro and Che. Like, dude, and I'm just gonna say this really quickly. When I see these motherfuckers posting Che Guevara pictures, I'm sitting there. I'm like, he killed gays.
Yeah.
He literally lined up people and shot them for their sexual orientation, their sexual preference. Guys, yeah. Oh, but his policy, like, shut them. You don't sit there and say Hitler had a really good education program.
Yeah.
It was really effective. It was super effective. His indoctrination education programs for children, the Hitler Youth, it worked. Took 10 years, and you had kids who were 10 years old. Now they're 20. Now they're serving in your military.
Yeah.
I mean, people left the United States. Did you know this? People left because the call to the motherland. They literally left the United States from like American-born citizens to go fight for the German army.
Yeah, I know. It's disappointing, but nobody really knows what was going through people's minds back there, and there's always been propaganda on both sides, so it's pretty terrible. But you never really know. You never really know what they're thinking. But just a quick point before we move on, I completely agree that migrants are not stupid or lazy people. To think that is insane. Like, the people that are ending up here, I do have a lot of respect for, because it's not easy to get in a frigging boat and sail across the great white shark infested Mediterranean, watching people as they die from the diesel fumes. The pirates just throw them overboard, and that's what the great white sharks eat. Like, they keep finding white sharks, and inside them, because they've eaten all the seals there, are migrants. So to do that, and then to try and find your way, like hold on to the bottom of an 18-wheeler, driving through Spain, or getting into the back of a fridge freezer compartment and hoping that you don't die. These people are massively ambitious, but we just can't deal with all of them without knowing who's here. Like, I definitely have respect for them, and they're definitely ambitious, and they would probably do very, very well. But if we have, let's say 20,000 a day that we don't know about, right? We can't deal with 500,000 people a month in a country of 67 million, the size of Florida and a half.
I mean, you guys, your population must be exploding, and you don't even know how big
the explosion
really is.
Yeah.
I think my final thoughts on the immigration thing is, like, we did it in a way with like Ellis Island in the United States. It's famous, Statue of Liberty, all that stuff, right? Like, people would come in, they would see it, but we documented them.
Exactly.
And we processed them. And the thing is this, if we could do it in 1920, 18, whatever year you're talking, if we could do it then, How the fuck can we not do it now?
Yeah.
This is absolutely on purpose. You can't tell me with the technology, like we could just take pictures of them. I'm sure they do. But like, how can we not like just be simply, this is what's going to happen. Like we're going to have this big, weird, slow ass court system to look at every case. We'll keep them in Mexico, like the Remain in Mexico policy. But, staging areas. Okay, here you are. These are the people that get to move to staging area, from A to B, from staging area B to C. You know, and have countries actually, and this is the problem, like just like they're doing over there, Mexico is not vetting people from Venezuela, Guatemala, Brazil. Like they're not going like, okay, dude, they don't care. They just, like you said, keep pushing them up. So I think we need to just reform it. And let's be honest. Like, if you want to be an American, you have to give up your citizenship of your original country. I don't believe you should have dual citizenship. It's either you're an American or you're not. And you come to America, that's it. Like, you want to be an American, fine. You can be an American. If you're not a criminal, if you're not a bad person, whatever. Your children can become Americans, but you must renounce your birth citizenship.
I'm not sure if I would go that far, but I think everything else, and I definitely understand that point, but I'm not. Oh, it's a tough one.
Listen, if I go to North Korea and I defect, I lose.
That's so different though, man. Like,
it's not.
You don't think
It's
Mexico to America is different to North Korea to America?
Because we're freaked out by the nature and the evil of North Korea. All governments are evil, for one, from my opinion. Like, in one way or another, they are doing evil things. It's just that they do it. They do it nicely. It's like Brave New World. America's like Brave New World. That's what it is. We're just going to keep you fat, happy, Netflix, ignorant, take drugs, just be, screw, pleasure, all, like, that's it. Just constant dopamine effect. Well, not weed to me, but no, it's these artificial stuff. Like, all our food has bliss in it, which is basically sugar is being put in everything. It's called bliss fillings or something to that effect. It's constant. And the thing is if you want to come to America and you want to live in America and you want to become an American citizen, now visas, all this stuff, whatever, you want to come work in America, that's different. But if you want to be an American citizen, it's just like, if I go to the UK and I'm like, I don't want to live in America anymore. You can still visit America. You just don't want to live there. You want to become a citizen of Britain. And that's okay. And Britain should say, well, that means you're going to take on our culture. You're going to want to assimilate. You're going to want to be like us. You're going to want to be, that's cool. So become a British citizen, but renounce your American citizenship, because that's where you want to live. And that's the culture you're trying to assimilate to. We can't have, it's identifying with where you live, how you live. That's like me saying that I live in Alabama and I shouldn't have to have a state driver's license from Alabama. I'll be like, no, I want one from South Carolina too. Well, that's not how it works, bucko. I chose to live here. I pay taxes here. I do my thing. I'm a part of the Alabama community. It's my duty to go get an Alabama driver's license. It's just simple. It's not that I hate South Carolina. I can still drive in South Carolina. I can do all the same things.
Mm-hmm.
But boom, it's that simple to me. Like, it's a little short-sighted. It could be. I don't know. But I just do believe if you want to live in America, you should want to be an American citizen. And then you have to renounce all other loyalties to all other nations. And because I don't want people going to be dual citizens, like American to China, and they can still like come and work, like do all this weird, like I don't want China to have influence over American citizens.
No, I get it. But like, what if you were Irish and you felt like, maybe I'll retire in Ireland, but I'd like to live my adult life in America? And they're like, I'm really proud of my Irish heritage. I'm also incredibly impressed with what America's done. I want to be American and fly the Old Glory on my doorstep. But one day I might go back to be with my sister in Ireland. Are you going to make me give up my Irish passport, President Deegan?
Well, no, it's not about forcing. I'm not forcing you. It's a choice. Do you want to be an American citizen? You can come live and work in America.
But I do. But I don't know if I might want to retire to my sister in County Cork.
Then don't become an American citizen. It's simple. Do not become one. Get work. Because listen, this is how it's. We gotta stop screwing around. It's very simple. If you want to be like a British, if I move to Britain and I buy a home in Britain and I'm in the UK and I'm like, hey, dude, I don't care if people move to America and wave the old, the UK flag. I don't know what they call it. What do they call your flag?
The Union flag.
The Union flag, whatever. You could. That's fine. I don't think you should be arrested for doing that or anything. That's crazy. But if I move to the UK and I'm holding dual allegiance,
yeah,
and I start coming in to your areas,
dual allegiance,
but like it is. But if I come in with my flag, right, and I start planting them and saying like coming to your door and being like, "Hey, dude, UK sucks. This place sucks. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. It's racist. It's disgusting. But come to America." I don't want that. I want people to move. If you are a British person, I would imagine you want people to move there who want to live there, who want to make it better, who want to care about the culture and the community and making sure these things last forever. Because without some sort of nationalistic identity, and when we diverge and split that nationalism to two different regions of the world, it's not that. I don't think that means you hate Ireland. I just think that means you identify with American culture and our exceptionalism, and that's where you want to be. It's not that Ireland's not exceptional. It doesn't have things that are cool about it, but to me, it just makes sense. Like, I'm like, I just don't want anybody to sit there and be like, it's like this. If you're mixed race, it's like, well, I'm white and black. You can say that. That's fine. But like, you have to determine yourself. You have to go, I'm black or I'm white or I'm this. And that's up to you. Right. So like, should the government come in and force you to identify that way? No. But if you're choosing to actively and you go into a state, get your driver's license, you're like, I want black, white, and Latino all on there. You're like, well, dude, I want to be transracial. I want to be this. It's like, well, I think we just need to stop fucking with our language. If you want to be an American, be an American. We got to stop screwing with policies, And
I'm proud to be an American.
At least I know I'm free.
Yeah.
I'm glad to stand up.
Spend my life. Yeah,
yeah, dude. It's like,
shall we move on to our topic of the day?
Steve, motherfucking Bannon. Let's do it. I read up a little bit about him and
okay.
How much did Wikipedia lie to me? So let's see.
Yes. So, Steve Bannon, for those of you that ever watch this that might think, oh, I've heard of him, he's that dodgy white supremacist. Don't believe any of the crap that you've heard. I used to think bad things about Steve Bannon before I'd ever heard him talk, just because all of the news stations said that he was this and that and the other. He's definitely a more complex guy than that. And he's probably one of the more reasonable people I've ever heard. Like, I don't think I've ever heard him say anything that I'm like, that's horrendous. Or even like, well, I don't agree with that. So anyway, Steve Bannon, born in Massachusetts.
Norfolk, Virginia.
Oh, he's born in Virginia.
That's what it said in Wikipedia. Okay. Norfolk, Virginia. I could be wrong. 1953, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Grew up, joined the Navy, served in one of the war rooms. Was it on a destroyer or something like that?
Yes, it was the USS something during the Persian Gulf War, and he served 7 years, like myself.
Yeah. So I think he served
the rank of lieutenant. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he served to 1983.
Yeah, it's like 1976 to 1983, I think, somewhere in that range.
Yeah. And then did I think he went to business school, Harvard Business School, I believe, and that is from my memory.
Yeah. He went to some fancy business school. He ended up then
I'm sure it was Harvard Business.
It probably was. Then he went and worked at Goldman Sachs for a couple years, and he did some like producing Hollywood, did a movie with Sean Penn called The Indian Runner, did some interesting things, and then ended up getting into I guess like some weird environmental stuff. He worked with a company that really made me go, oh, do you know who he worked for before Trump? Who? In 2016? Cambridge Analytica. Cambridge Analytica was responsible for the Facebook crap, all that Facebook leaks and the data manipulation. Oh yeah. Yes. I was a little like,
sorry about that, old boys.
Yeah, it's like, sorry about that, my man. I didn't know. I was like, who knows what role he played in that, but he, probably was somewhat important. And then he worked 88 days on the Trump campaign, the final 88 days, and He is credited with at least being one of the really important figures at the end there that really pushed it over the line for President Trump.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, let's not forget as well, he was a huge part of Breitbart.
Oh, Breitbart, yeah.
Andrew Breitbart's company.
What an inspiring story of Andrew Breitbart, like to create
Amazing.
something like that and then still be around even after your death. Like that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Pretty
and so many of his sayings are now really like coming to fruition. Like politics is downstream from culture and things like that are now really obvious. But like 10 years ago, people did not really think, you never heard it that much.
Because he used to be a liberal Democrat guy. Like he used to be, I think,
He
Andrew
was,
Breitbart in college or something. I'm not super knowledgeable of Andrew Breitbart, but I do know.
yeah, he was quite liberal. I think he was kind of your stereotypical, uh, if you're a conservative in your 20s, you don't have any heart, and if you're if whatever it is, and if you're a liberal in your 30s, you don't have a brain.
Or you've never done anything, yeah. Or you've never tried to do anything, or you.
Yeah.
It's like anyone like when someone's like 18, like my little sister. She never would say that she's a socialist or communist, but she definitely left leaning. And I'm just like, you know what, dude, you have the right to feel that way. We all felt that way. But until you start actually and then you already see signs of it. She's got a job now. She's got a car. She's like, working, and she's working for the state too. So you're like, oh man, she's getting a wake up call like she's never seen before. And she just goes around and around. And she's like, I'm like, you're a conservative. You just don't know it yet because once you start making money, you don't want to get up. She's like, I have to pay all this in taxes. I was like, it's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy, man.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, he went to Harvard Business School, and in the book, which I have here, which you bought now, haven't you?
Yes, The Devil's Bargain.
The Devil's Bargain.
You got a fancy little slip cover on there, huh?
Yes, I do.
You take care of your books. That shit reminds me of the library or something like.
It reminds me of Back to the Future too, where he says the word dust jacket, and I never heard the word dust jacket.
Yeah.
This is an amazing book. Me and Dan were talking about it last night about how is it kind of like an anti-Trump book or a pro-Trump book? And I would say, I suppose if it's either, it's probably an anti-Trump book, but it's more just like really interesting because Josh Green, who wrote this book, who I think is like a sort of center-left guy.
He's Bloomberg. Yeah, he works for Bloomberg, I believe.
But he wasn't, when I last heard him interviewed about 3 years ago, he wasn't yet like fully woke. So at least at some point he was fairly sensible. He got Bannon's permission and he sat down with Bannon a lot to talk about this book and to write.
It's like, how can you not like the guy? That's my thing. It's like, okay, you don't have to agree with him, but he's like just a cool dude. He's just a cool guy. He's just chill.
Like, give some examples. Obviously, we should recommend this to anybody that hasn't seen it. I'm sure a lot of you have. The Timcast episode, and like, if you could pay $10 a month,
it's worth
like
it.
£6, £7. Man, it's worth it because there's a long one as well. Wasn't it like an hour and a half or something?
It was about an hour.
Half an hour.
Yeah, they're usually about 25 to 30 minutes. This one was about an hour. And listen, I don't even care to talk about that stuff because this is my thing, and this is something that I have to be wary of, and we all should be wary of. We all can be monsters, and we all can be persuaded. We're emotional creatures. We respond to things almost irrationally. It is very natural. So I don't want to say Steve Bannon is not a smart man, and he is a smart man. But smart men can be tricked. Smart men can be manipulated. Smart men can be used as tools. It may not even be intentional. It's like Jake Tapper. Part of this might not be intentional with Jake Tapper, like we were talking about earlier. He's a smart guy, but that doesn't mean he's not being persuaded or manipulated or just kind of choosing to admit certain things, not to admit certain things.
Mm-hmm.
So Steve Bannon, like he gets on there and he talks, and listen, he believes what he's saying. I'll say that much. He legitimately believes it.
Yeah.
Like there's no doubt that but this is a man of principle and conviction. And then you see how the state goes after him. They arrested him for something like this, and like he's getting sued and or he's getting like civil charges or not civil, legal charges brought against him by the federal courts. Like some weird stuff going on there. Something to do with the GoFundMe for the wall campaign. People got money who weren't supposed to get money. I don't know.
They said it wasn't all going directly on the wall.
I listen, like I honestly, I'm not going to I just know that happened, right? Like the political establishment, like for example, what we just talked about earlier with the NHS guy, right? The National Health Service guy, Hancock, the health minister.
Yeah,
Mouthcock. So mouth cock and mouth, that is his punishment. He's not going to have legal. He's probably not. Nothing legal is going to happen to him. They're not going to sue him. They're not going to go after him. But someone like Steve Bannon, he's an enemy of the state, like to them. Like he's a threat to them. He has a lot of power,
especially.
Yes, of the cathedral. So they are going to use all their powers to go after him, and it's just like they did to Trump, in my opinion. So Steve Bannon to me is just, and I fell for it too because I didn't really think about Steve Bannon in a light other than like, oh, he worked for Trump. He kind of like quit because he seems like why did he quit? He never really talked about it. Like, and I was like, why? At least not that I've ever seen. So
I can tell you that. I can tell you that. Do you want to know?
Yeah.
You sure?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Truth is truth, man. Like, if you got the truth, tell me.
Yeah, I got the truth. So basically what happened was I think it was around a year into Trump's presidency, maybe like 10 months.
Something like that, yeah.
There was a lot of crap. You know, they were constantly saying, I don't know if you remember this, I'm sure you do. They were constantly saying things like, Trump's not the one really running the White House. It's Bannon's got his hand, it's a puppet. Bannon's got his hand inside Trump. It's Bannon's White House and Trump's just the face of it.
Bannon or Putin.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think from after a while of them constantly saying this, it was kind of frustrating Trump. And from what I remember, because it's in the book as well, I think it's like at the end, because obviously he did like a posting. It was starting to frustrate Trump that people were saying, Bannon's the one that's really in command. It's not Trump. It's not Trump
and his fucking ego.
Yeah, I know. And then somebody released something really ridiculous about Bannon, and Trump sort of said to Bannon, look, you could, and who knows whether this is true or whether he just said it to make him go. But Bannon says that Trump said, you can be a lot more helpful outside than you can inside.
I mean, this is the thing.
I think he was involved in the 2020 campaign as well. I think they brought him back in.
He definitely played some sort of. I'm telling you, dude. This is where I agree with Steve Bannon. Like, go watch. Listen, go support Timcast IRL. Go to timcast.com. Support people that are at least having real conversations about crap. Like, I am so sick of the manufactured consent of the media and trying to impose the real me. I'm done with them. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I might check out Tucker. I will watch their shit and then just for information to see what these sides are saying. Mm-hmm. Because the elites in our society are so bold, they don't care if what they're saying is awful. They just don't care if it's not true. They're just out in front of your face. They used to have to be sneaky about it. And now they're like, oh no, America's structurally racist. It's awful. It's bad. You need to start teaching all this stuff in our schools. Like, they're trying to hide racism or something from our kids. It's just junk. We all know it's junk. Yep. And Steve Bannon, so I had that taste in my mouth with him. Like that, like a little bit. Like, I think that residual stuff from the Trump stuff, because I thought maybe he left on bad terms. Yeah. But Bannon has done a lot of good outside of it too. I think Trump his instincts may have been right on that. Yeah,
very much so. And I think a lot of people thought what you thought, which is kind of like, well, screw Bannon. He obviously has betrayed Trump, or he's done something to annoy Trump, or he's getting too big for his boots. Almost believe that media hype that Bannon is secretly trying to worm his way in. At the end of the day, we're all like a hand in the puppet if you believe that anybody that has the same moral conviction about politics or life, or wants to send something in a certain direction, if you're trying to help a leader do that because you want that, doesn't that just make us all a hand in a puppet? You can't just say anybody that believes the same as the leader is a hand in the puppet.
Right.
So, I think but the one thing I will say is that I don't think Trump 100% knew in which direction to take the country until Steve Bannon sort of said to him, look, people are tired of the uni party. Like, they're tired of voting differently and having roughly the same outcomes. People of especially middle America, and not even necessarily between the coasts, but just middle class, working class America, are tired of being shat on all the time. They're tired of being told that they're racist and they're privileged, and they want jobs back. They want half decent jobs for a half decent wage. You know, they want to be able to be proud of their country publicly and, you know, not be berated for doing so. And they just want to have an element of freedom and not have to worry about the state all the time. And he's actually, Bannon he went on a tour. That is one thing he did do, actually. He went on a tour of Europe. So about 6 months after he came out from the White House, and then it was the Brexit thing. You know, he came down because we voted for Brexit in 2015. We were still fighting for it up until 2019.
Did he play a role in Brexit at all? Like,
He played a bit of a role just when we were having the re-election, the general election, because there was only one party in the UK that said anything other than we will reverse Brexit if we get in, and that was the Conservatives.
can I say something really quickly?
Sure.
I really do think that is like a blow towards the social elite that want, like, I don't know, I don't like using these taboo conspiracy words like one world government, whatever their intentions are. That was a blow to them directly. There's no doubt, like, that these people, these uniparty people, were like, fuck.
Yeah.
Why did we put these stupid laws to let people vote? That's what they were thinking.
Yeah.
That's why you guys had 3 elections. About the same thing.
But I mean, you seem very certain of that, but we don't even have to just stick. We don't even have to guess because David Cameron, who was the Conservative Party leader, the Prime Minister, who gave us the choice of voting to leave the EU, you know, which we never really voted to enter anyway. We entered the trade union,
agreement.
not like the United States of Europe. He actually said about 2 years ago, he was speaking at some fucking elitist do, and he was on stage. He said, blah 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 blah, until I'm, you know, it was the biggest regret of my career was giving them the vote. Do you think how close we were to never even being allowed to have the vote? So when people berate just real quick, when people berate the Conservatives in both countries, I guess, but especially in the UK, when people say like, oh, they're all part of one, yeah, they are, but there was only one party that said, you know, if you vote us back in, we will get this done. And that was the Conservatives. And they did. And Germany, there were newspaper articles written about Boris and David Frost, who was like the chief negotiator, because obviously we had so many strings tied together. We had to negotiate how we're going to untie them. And there were people in German newspapers saying, nobody else could have done this. And I'm not the world's like biggest fan of Boris Johnson at all. But you cannot deny that. Like these like left-wing newspapers were saying, you know, you got to give the guy credit. You know, he kind of plays a buffoon, but he was the only person that could have got this done. And that was the leading people in Europe that said that.
And that's an amazing point you're making, right? Like this is the thing. This is what the left has done. This is what the left has done for decades. I mean, damn near 100 years. Encroachment. They try to take everything, only wanting 1/3.
Yeah.
Like they, you know, like that's like, hey, we want to, like, you know, like for example, this is like a really extreme example. I'm not saying this is like even a realistic thing. This is awful. This is horrible. But if they came out and said like, hey, we want to lower the age of consent down to 5.
But they
Everyone
really want
would
12.
and everyone was, oh, no. And then 12 seems reasonable. 12 seems reasonable. So, and it's obviously, oh my God. And honestly, we're probably heading that way. But conservatives are starting to figure that out. And not the people in power right now. I'm talking me, you. We're like, no, we need to start making demands. We need to stop playing games with these people. We need to stop playing nice all the time and letting them keep taking more. So like Brexit, these people have so much hubris. These people don't realize they have wax wings and they're flying very close to the sun. They can't see the threat because they really don't believe that you or I, the savages, the serfs, the peasants,
the gammon. They call us the gammon.
The gammon. I like that.
They call us the gammon.
I would like you to explain that right after I say this. They really don't believe that you and I have the capability of talking, communicating, and building, because they view themselves as these elite eugenicists, like pure blood, you know, whatever, you know, and we're the mudbloods. And they're just like, these people don't even have the ability to think properly. So we need to elect an elite establishment of people that we can then also make sure that the people we want to get elected, because we'll fund them with millions of pounds and we'll be able to take over their cities one at a time. And all of a sudden it's just going, people are going, fuck that. And they're just start going, huh? Oh my God. But they even go, oh, that's just one guy. And that's why I'm saying, watch that Scottish video. We can talk about that later, but watch it. You're like, man, it's just like, he's just like, you want to talk about, he's turning these people into meat puppets and he's putting them on like the Hulk, like meat gloves.
Yeah.
And they're just going, oh, like they don't know what's happening. And I love that. And I think that's what we need to do to these institutions. We need to go inside of them and rip all the crap out and leave them nothing but a skeleton. And then we will reshape, reform these skeletons into what they're supposed to be, and the intentions and the outcomes that we desire as people.
Yeah, I agree. Like I don't want to kind of destroy everything. My issue, one of my issues with some of the people that are on the further left, the far left, is that they always talk about destroying, like burning to the ground and rebuilding. I don't want to burn to the ground and rebuild. I want to kind of restructure, kind of reform. Yeah.
But see, this is the issue.
We have a lot of good stuff.
This is the issue with what you're saying, in my opinion. Reformation from where? From who? Who controls it? Who gets to decide what is and what should not be? It's not going to be you. Unless you yourself are the person that gets elected or whatever. Great. But now you're dealing just like Trump. Trump got elected by the people.
Yeah, and he couldn't do much.
He couldn't do anything. Couldn't get anything done. The entire system worked against him. Listen, I am not saying to be violent. I'm not saying what I'm saying is ignore them. Just ignore them. They can't tell 65 million people to do it all if they're just like, no, we're not doing it anymore. We're just not listening to you. We're not going to sit there and comply. It's not being violent. It's not being crazy. It's not that you're not going to like just be a civil person. You're like, I don't need you to tell me what to do anymore. I don't need you to guide me to morality. I don't need that. I don't need your laws to tell me how to live, because those only enforce the bad people what they can get away with. That's what laws do, in my opinion. So I think the thing is like what I'm saying, rip out these people, these monsters. It's not being forceful about it. I'm saying just don't listen to them. They will die on the vine. They feed off of you like a vampire.
Oh, they will. Yeah, they will.
But that's what they do. They feed off of your pain, your sorrow, your suffering, and they just like, yes, hurt them more, because then they're going to need us more. Make them more afraid of everything because they're going to ask for more, and we're going to give just enough to keep them going. We should not accept this anymore. This is not how we should live as human beings, and with the people with our rights and our humanity and love in our hearts. These are not people with love in their hearts. Like that guy that said about the Brexit, we should have never let him vote. That was my biggest mistake. Like letting your people have a damn voice.
Yeah, that was terrible.
Monster.
When he said that, I was like, wow. What? So hold on, like we celebrate democracy all the time, but then like when we have democracy, you say it's a mistake.
And democracy is a mistake. So democracy is a mistake. Just to say that, 100%.
Well, no, yeah, but my point is, regardless of anybody's individual view on democracy, we're told all the time, actually, especially more by the left and left-wing institutions, that democracy like is the key. Like we have to be, everything has to be democratic. You know,
what percentage of the population voted to leave? What percentage, like, of the overall?
Oh, it was quite big because they normally say anything above 5% is a pretty big thing, and it was like 56% to 40 to like 43 or something. No, maybe it was more than that. I don't know. There was around a 12% difference between the two, which is fairly big for a referendum. Like when Scotland voted to stay part of the UK, that was 55 to 45, and they said
that's close. Ooh.
But that's still 10 percentage points to change. So one side has to gain 10 plus 1.
Wait, now, and this is the problem with democracy. So now 55% gets to control 45%? That's not fair.
Yeah.
That's why every democracy has failed in history. Every single democracy has burned itself to the ground, because when 51% can control 49%, you have war.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll go into it another day. I don't want to
Another
know
day.
to say. But
Yeah, for sure.
I have a lot to say about that. Like, there's the old saying, isn't there? Like, um, what is the something like a democracy? Democracy dies when there are more fools than wise men, and that's exactly right. Like, if you've got 90 fools and 10 wise men, you've got 90 people vote for.
it, I kind of rebuke the statement that there's 51 fools to 49 wise men. Everyone, that's the first issue we have, is that we view the other side as just fools, and they view
Yes,
us
they
as
are.
fools. No,
They
I mean
are.
maybe they are fools on certain
They're the real
issues.
fools.
You know what I mean? But like this is how we turn into civil war, and we should definitely maybe we can talk about that next week. Monday we can
Yeah,
talk about
we'll
democracy and the
yeah.
constitutional republic, which obviously has its failings.
Yeah.
Uh, maybe just no government at all. I don't know. We'll see.
But listen.
Okay.
I just
Mhm.
want you to say, oh, and the gammon thing is, you know how Hillary Clinton cackled away as she called anybody that didn't vote for her a deplorable? It
Yes.
was exactly the same in the UK. I can't remember who it was, but there was some like leak of it was either a phone call or an email, and it was some Labour politician jokingly saying, how are you ever convinced the gammon of anything? Talking about people that voted for Brexit, people that voted for freedom or more freedom, I should say, freedom from, bureaucrats in Europe that we never elected
Yep.
that are somehow making billions and making our laws, but nobody knows who they are.
Yep. Fair enough.
And yeah, she was like, "You'll never convince the gammon of anything." So that now you kind of jokingly refer to yourself as the gammon
Or the deplorable. Yeah, I get
or the
that.
deplorable. Yeah.
What is a gammon? Is gammon like
Well,
stupid,
gammon, as
ignorant?
far as I know, is just a type of ham, isn't it? Like gammon, a piece of gammon is like a piece of ham.
Never heard of it in my life.
Yeah, so in this country, gammon chips and eggs is quite common at a pub, and it's like a piece of ham about half an inch thick,
Oh,
and it's like a steak of ham, of
oh, that
pork.
sounds good. That sounds
It is
delicious.
good. Have that with a couple of fried eggs and some chips, some French fries.
Mm.
Sorry, but thick French fries, not the little
Oh
American
yeah,
ones.
yeah. Not these little. Yeah, it's that sounds
Not
delicious.
like
It just makes me
McDonald's.
so hungry. Huh?
It is amazing. It is amazing.
It's like I just like I love ham, and I'm just like you can call me that anytime you want, baby. Like bring it on.
Yeah,
I'm a big piece of hunk ham, and let's do it.
it was an
Sweet,
odd
and
insult.
salty.
Yeah,
Yeah, kind of an
well,
odd insult. Deplorable is like, yeah, it's all fun. It's all fun. Um,
quite cool. It's quite a
but
cool.
I think that's a sign of like changing minds, and people are evolving to think more. There's a large group of people in the world that are feeling like we need to change a lot of things, and our this old generation won't let go. And then the people that have been indoctrinated by the old generation won't let go,
Hmm.
or but they're more susceptible to change because they're young, and they're more
Yeah,
susceptible to maybe when it starts affecting their homes, their families, their schools, their communities, they might be a little bit more like some people, a percentage will be like, now your 55 goes to 60, 65, 70, and so on. We
yeah,
need to start working on those small percentages of people we can gather and stop focusing on like the black community. It's like, whoa, that's kind of disingenuous. Like I was listening to Joe Rogan, is like, point me to an area code where all the black people live, where all of them
yeah,
live. There's no such thing. We're all Americans, and we need or British. We just need to stop talking like this, and we just need to a coalition, as a left term, a coalition of people coming
yeah.
together for a like. And that's why I'm saying, if you want to be an American, you got to be an American. You can't be anyone else. You can't be any other citizen. Like that's like start. We need to start being harder on that, in my opinion. But
Okay, fair enough.
that's my thoughts on that stuff. So
I'm just going back to Steve Bannon before,
yeah,
because yeah, I'll probably do another 10 minutes.
about 10. Yeah, we got 10, 12 minutes
Yeah,
left.
cool. Because England are in the semi-final of the European Cup,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
so I shall be watching. Steve Bannon, definitely, he's not what people think he is. He actually, and he says he's far right, but because like the media say that they tell us what far right means. So in the UK, when veterans go down to defend statues in London from being graffitied,
They're white
urinated
supremacists.
on, they literally they're just a lot of them are wounded veterans. Like you could see the PTSD in their eyes. They've done like 7 tours of Afghanistan or whatever. They're tired. You know, they're probably not earning a lot of money. Not many people know their experiences. And all they're doing is standing by a monument of like someone's a Churchill or something, just saying, look, please just don't mess with this one thing. The newspapers say far right defend the far right defend the statue. And it's like
A
they're
white
not far right.
supremacist, white
Yeah.
nationalist, whatever.
And it's like they're not far right. But or are they far right? But we don't even know what far right means anymore. I don't know what far right means because Steve said he's far right, and I think what he went on to explain about that was what he means is he is fairly open market. He is nationalist first. So I'd rather make sure America is good first, and middle class Americans and everybody that needs it is good first, and then we can try and help other people. Like I said before, people have jobs for a good wage. You have security of trade, things like that. He never said anything about race or even like LGBTQ or religion. He didn't say anything about religion. He was just like, I want people to live a healthy, happy life.
He's a
And
policy-minded guy.
yeah, and then he
He's
was
about
like,
policy and action.
I'm far right. And Tim and, Ian were like, is that really far right? And he was like, well, yeah, it kind of is, because I'm right wing and I'm very certain in my beliefs, which makes me far right.
More like far out, bro. Like groovy.
Far out.
As a guy that grew up in the 70s, it's pretty cool. Yeah, Steve Bannon. Listen, going with an open mind. You can have a closed heart if you're not sure, but going with an open mind at least. Like you don't have to love the guy, but
Yeah,
most
I
of this,
agree.
and this is anything that is rational today is far right. So it's just honestly, I mean literally anything. Like I want to own a gun and defend my home. You're far right.
Racist.
Yeah. Look at the peasant wants to defend his home with a little pea shooter. Philip.
Yeah.
I don't know why I keep going like British, but I just feel like elite British people are so smug. I don't know what it is.
True.
In America, they're just like, "Hi, how are you? Good morning, Sunday
That's
morning."
so true.
Nancy Pelosi,
Yeah.
like they're all like, dude,
What was she doing?
she's a psychopath. I don't know. Like these people are insane. Like Joe Biden's going, the thing. Come on, man.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, relax. Okay.
Yeah.
We just asked you what you're doing for dinner tonight.
Yeah.
It's like, ice cream tonight. It's gonna be Rocky Road because of infrastructure, right, guys? Shut up.
Get off the stage before they tell me off.
Yeah. Okay, well, we're going to wrap up like we have been doing for now 2 episodes where we're going to go over a couple songs and movies or entertainment, YouTubers, something that we would like people to go check out. I'm going to go first this time, if that's all right.
Yeah, do it.
This is Democracy of Two. David Bowie fame. I just love that song. So David Bowie
Great
fame,
song.
classic. You can even go a little China. Actually, most David Bowie songs are pretty fucking awesome. So.
Yep, this is true. So my first song is by a British female hip hop artist. It's a difficult one because it does kind of talk about social, racial matters, but there are definitely some social matters, racial matters in London. So it's not too bad, but it's an amazing song anyway. Like the rhythm and her style is just cool, and I would definitely suggest you listen to this after this podcast, dude, because you'll like it. It's by Little Sims, so Little and then Simz, sorry, for the Americans, and the song is called Introvert.
Okay.
And I can almost guarantee you'll like it. You might find some of the lyrics you'll be like, even though a lot of them are fair enough. But she's just a great artist, and it is a good song.
Absolutely. I got really cool American band. I do have 2 British bands on here, so just saying. All right, but right on. Well, I mean, you guys got some great music. There's no doubt some of the best in the world, man. OK Go, Skyscrapers. Check it out. It's a really weird, funky. Do you know those guys, that famous music video where those dudes were on the treadmills years ago? This is probably 10, 15 years ago, and they were doing tricks, and it was a music video.
Yeah.
Like, here we go again. Like that's the OK Go. But there's this album. It's called the whole album is amazing. That Skyscrapers is like The Color of Blue. Dude, Skyscrapers is fucking cool. It's just cool. It's so cool. I don't even know why. Like, it's just that's the only way. It's just cool. That's the best way for me to explain it.
I look forward to it. Okay. My second one, it's a bit of synthwave. Everybody loves a bit of synthwave. It's by Time Cop, 1983. I believe he's an Austrian guy. I'm not 100% sure. And the song is called "It Was Only a Dream."
It was only a dream.
Yep.
Is it so it's like a synth kind of?
It's a synthwave thing. You know, like the sort of stuff Sean plays sometimes on Zoobox?
Oh, yeah.
Check out Zoobox, by the way.
Yes, please check out Zoobox podcast. Go check it out. We're on there. We're animals. And no, there's it's just nonsense, honestly. I picked for a famous band, Led Zeppelin. Okay. Led Zeppelin. Since I've been loving you. It's one of my favorite guitar riffs is the beginning. And it's beautiful and it's honest. And it's actually, I think, about the lead singer of A Heart. I think that's who it's about. That song is specifically about her. They dated in the 60s or 70s. So pretty cool. Just Jimmy Page, Satanist or not, whatever. I don't care. The guy writes great music. Like, I don't care. These guys, Robert Plant, like everybody, John Bonham, Robert Plant, Jimmy Page, and John Paul Jones. I mean, Jesus.
Yeah,
they're geniuses. All of them are geniuses.
The amount of, I'm not just saying this because I'm British. It's just a fact. The amount of British insane bands from like 1960 to
Eric
now,
Clapton, Cream, the Yardbirds, Led Zeppelin, the Beatles.
There's just a million. Like, there's a million. Like, you can't even
Radiohead, freaking awesome.
The Who, the Stones, the Beatles, like, just all of the good ones. Like, there's just so many. And then, like, individual artists, like Bowie, people like Bowie, even George Michael. Like, I'm not really a fan of George Michael's music, but just...
What's that chick's name? Amy Winehouse. Is she British? Am I
she's
mistaken?
British.
Yeah, she's British. She's amazing artist.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's I mean, like, and then you've got metal bands like Black Sabbath, Priest. Is Priest British or American? I think they're British.
I think they're British. Yeah.
And then I'm trying to think of the other really good band. Massively famous rock band, Iron Maiden, British. AC/DC.
Well, I mean, but the Guardians or the Blind Guardian, another famous like heavy metal from Norway guys, and like those, like they're cool. They're Iron Maiden-esque. Blind Guardian's really fun. Just guys. They sing about Lord of the Rings all the time. Like it's like so cheesy. It's fun. It's fun stuff. I just think England there's something special about that place. And that's what I'm saying. They're trying to destroy that. Like, you guys created, saying that there's no British culture that is like, or like American culture, it's ridiculous. Like, everybody knows when you talk about hamburgers and cheese, like, and stuff, like, it's America. Like, that's what we're talking about.
It's so ridiculous.
Whatever it is.
It's more ridiculous to say there's no American culture, because American culture has like invaded the world for the last 50 years. I mean, how can you say there's no American culture? People could think of 1,000 things that's American.
I'll tell you, the greatest American culture we have is the CIA. We're everywhere.
Yeah, that's true.
My movie, 1939, stars James Stewart. It's called Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. It's on HBO Max. So if you have HBO Max, it's on there. This movie was highly controversial in 1939. Remember, this is pre-World War II, post-World War I. And it's basically talking about corruption in government and how one man is not afraid to stand up to the system. And it's about government corruption at its finest. And it resonates so hard today. Like, it's just beautifully shot. It's amazing. In the UK, banned it at first. They wouldn't let it be
banned a fair amount of films at certain times.
Yeah, they banned it because they were like, this makes the American government look weak and bad, and like, we don't want to share it here. Yeah, it wasn't like trying to protect the citizens over there. They still want to have a view of America be bad, because we know what we came in as. We were probably thinking about coming to support you at that time, and it would make our American government look corrupt, and then blah 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 blah, so on.
Wow.
Amazing film. Amazing. I'm telling you, I fell in love with America. I cried 3 times watching this movie. That's how good this movie is. Like, I mean, not like boo, but I mean like, oh my, like beauty tears. Like when you see like your kid hit a home run or get a goal, and you're kind of like, I'm fucking proud of my boy.
Yeah. And I'm proud to be an American.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. So it's a great movie. 1939. Jamie Stewart, whatever the heck his name is. I think those kind of are synonyms. Like synonyms. They kind of go. But it's amazing. It's amazing.
Okay. I'm gonna just do a couple more musics I forgot to do. So my third one was Fatboy Slim, Weapon of Choice. And it has that very famous actor who I love, and it's really frustrating I can't remember his name. He was the Headless Horseman in Headless Horseman.
Johnny Depp.
No, I mean he is in that, but this guy played the. He's the one that he's like got that New York accent, and he speaks kind of like. I'm trying to think how to do an impression of him. Well, I have my jacket on.
No, you're shit. He's famous. Everyone makes fun of his voice.
What the hell is his name?
Well, we're not. Yeah. I'm looking it up. Give me a second.
Okay, well, while you're looking it
Dustin Hoffman. That's not him.
No, just look up the Headless Horseman, and it will be in that.
Sleepy Hollow. Yeah.
Yeah. You're right. Sorry. But yeah. So while you're doing that, my fourth music was Kenny Rogers, The Gambler.
Dude, yeah. Okay.
That if you want to have a nightcap, like a little whiskey, and you just want to put on a really, really nice kind of guitar song with a really country and western. Yeah.
Christopher
Walken, thank you. Yeah, so I put this shirt on my back, and next thing I knew,
the cowbell, more cowbell. Like I cannot do accents; it's pretty awful. But yeah, he's amazing.
So if you watch Fatboy Slim, Weapon of Choice, you will get to see Christopher Walken do the most hilarious like dad dance that actually looks cool, because he basically dances through a hotel for the whole video, and it's friggin' awesome. My film is only because I know this is so obvious, and like film schooly nerds will be like, "Oh my god,
Citizen Kane."
Yeah,
dude, I'm too good.
What?
I'm too
Are you
good.
freaking kidding me? Because every time I speak to people, I'm like, and we talk about films, I'm like, I mean, you've seen Citizen Kane, right? They're like, what? Are you freaking kidding me? You haven't seen Citizen Kane? So yeah, Citizen Kane.
Dude, some people don't even know what the Civil War was fought over in America. Like that's a real detriment of it. Like that's just true.
Yeah,
some people, like young people, are like, "What? What's that?"
Yeah, it's not great. But yeah, so
I mean, that's a great film. It's a
great
film. It's about regret. It's about power. It's about politics. It's about everything. And do you know he basically ruined his life because he made that film? Orson Welles.
I heard that.
Oh, it's based off of William Randolph Hearst. He's the guy that actually made cannabis illegal in the United States.
Yes, I know. I know Willie. We should do him.
Yeah. Hey, William Randolph Hearst was the one that helped expose Russia and what happened over there. So he did some good things too.
Absolutely. Listen, I disagree, particularly of people back then, that people were black or white or good or bad. I think people did certain things that were good and certain things that were bad. Not everybody. Like obviously you have exceptions. I do think it's very difficult to be like, this one dude did nothing but evil his whole life.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but like, evil people can still sometimes do okay things, or good people can still do evil things. So like, it's just people won't recognize. Like Bill Gates really doesn't think he's an asshole. He doesn't think he's a monster. He doesn't think he's a jerk for trying to control the population of the world. Like he doesn't think that, well, it's my job. I'm a rich billionaire. I need to do this. I need to manipulate the population so that we can continue. Like, listen, Bill Gates is a piece of shit. William Randolph Hearst, piece of shit, because he tried to destroy a guy who made a movie. Like you're a jerk. You're a jerk at the least, and literally attacked him for years. In the press.
I think the trouble is when you make $26 million a minute, whether you're awake or asleep, that can really change a man.
But see, that's the thing. It's not. Well, we can talk about that another time because we're kind of out of time for today. But I mean, yeah, that's what their value. You know, they're not really making that much money. They're probably getting $15-20 million a year in actual.
It doesn't matter if he wanted to cash out tomorrow, he would have made 26 million.
No, they can't. Nope, can't do it. It's illegal. Can't do it.
Okay, all right.
Like
Fine.
technically, like I mean, like literally, the company would fall apart if he did something like that. It would just implode.
Like what I'm saying is, if he wanted to leave the company, you can sell your shares whenever you want.
No, it's against in the United States. You can't.
What's the point of having shares then if you can't pull out at any time?
Just can't. If you there is like the board and like there's a lot of laws and stuff because you could literally seriously financially collapse a company by doing something like that.
But maybe he doesn't care.
It does. That's why they have these things in place because people could do those things.
Well, we should talk about that then as well.
Yeah, because I'm telling, like, as far as I understand it, like, as for the research I've done, they legally can't do that.
Because I thought it was the case, and I could definitely be wrong, but I thought it was the case that yes, you would decimate the company, yes, you would decimate people's lives, many people's lives, but that you could do it. And so, like, when people say, "Oh crap, dude, my headphone's going to run out and the other one's already dead." Great show.
Yes,
Wish us
we'll
luck
talk
for
about
tonight
it.
in the football.
We just keep going and we'll keep going and we'll keep going if we don't stop ourselves. So it was a good time. Thank you guys for showing up to the Generation Y podcast. It was a good time. Just have a good week. We'll see you soon. We're figuring out the uploading situation. Stick with us. We'll have some fun.
Come on, England.
Go USA.
Winston stopped writing, partly because he was suffering from cramp. He did not know what had made him pour out this stream of rubbish,